What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's Real Talk, Sports Talk, live from my man cave. It's your boy Johnny. And what else can I say? What can I say? Why did I think it was going to be any different? I take full responsibility because I'm the idiot that actually picked the Jets to win this game because I thought it would be different, especially after what happened last week, especially after the fact that we had seen the Dolphins, just 3 weeks ago on Black Friday. I figured that would benefit the defense. They go out there and they embarrass themselves. I mean, they don't even score a point. In fact, at the half, they have 4 yards of total offense. This, by far, is the worst display of football. I mean, this entire season has just been an absolute nightmare, a disaster. And it shouldn't have been that way. I'm sorry. It should not have been that way. And for the fans that are going to sit there and say, well, you know what? We lost our starting quarterback. We've got decimated by injuries. I don't give a shit. Injuries happen in the NFL. This is the NFL. You have to have a GM that's going to go out there and he's going to make adjustments to try to plug in some holes. This is a playoff caliber team. Or it was in the beginning of the season on paper. The offensive line is just atrocious. It's trash. It's straight ass. Let's just call it what it is. They aren't even competitive. You can't even call them an NFL caliber offensive line. They're terrible. They're piss poor terrible. And it doesn't matter who they plug in there. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why I said that it was criminal, that it was a fireable offense, that Joe Douglas did absolutely nothing to address this offensive line at the trade deadline. He picked up a guy from the street who we haven't even seen play yet. I don't even remember. Stafford. I don't even know what his name is, to be honest with you. That was his sole offensive line move right before the trade deadline to try to help a decimated line already at that point, and yet we haven't even seen this guy play. So we don't even know if he can play. Joe Douglas just makes moves. He just makes moves to shut the fan base up and shut the media up, just like he did with Trevor Siemian, adding Trevor Siemian as quarterback. Because he's absolutely terrible. I don't understand who runs Joe Douglas's scout team. I really don't. Because if you're going to sit there and tell me that you're a guy that supposedly knows football, and you can sit there and look at tape of Tim Boyle and Siemian and all these other guys that you've picked up, and you can convince yourself that these guys can play if needed, then you're in the wrong profession and you don't know football. And I'm starting to think more and more every week as the time goes by and this team looks even more pathetic, that we don't have people that know football in the front office. I'm sorry. Joe Douglas was brought here for one reason, I remember, to try to beef up the offensive line. He had been a guy who many people had regarded coming from the Ravens, Ozzie Newsome, GM front office team to Howie Roseman's front office team in Philadelphia. He was supposed to beef up this offensive line. It was supposedly a strength of his to find offensive line talent when we had Sam Darnold. And here we are, all these years later, and the offensive line is still straight trash. Enough is enough. I mean, I sitting here watching this every week after week after week, inept play. It all starts with the guys up front. They'll sit there and tell you that before the season, yet they don't do shit to address it. And if you haven't, I get it. We have injuries, okay. But at the end of the day, all teams have injuries. This is the NFL, ladies and gentlemen. Teams are going to have players that get injured. It's the GMs. It's the good GMs. That's what separates the good GMs from the great ones. The ones that can pivot in season and plug in holes where you either have injuries or you have ineffective play. Or even if your team is rolling, plugging in players that could potentially help even strengthen the team even more. Those are the good GMs. Those are the great GMs. I'm sorry, man. Listen, I said it weeks and weeks ago. Somebody needs to be held accountable for what's happening with this team, and it has to start with the GM. I'm sorry. And like I said, I was not a Joe Douglas hater. I'm not a Joe Douglas hater, but I'll tell you one thing. This year, yeah, he soured on me. I'm not a Joe Douglas fan anymore. I'm sorry, man. This season has been disastrous, and it starts with him. I don't even know what to start. I mean, I'm not going to go into talking about the game because there's really nothing to talk about. I mean, we get demolished 30-0. I feel bad. I really do. There was a couple of friends of mine from some of my Jet chat groups that actually went to this game. I feel bad that they had to sit through this nonsense. I really do. Hopefully they tailgated before the game and they were at least able to get a little bit buzzed, because at the end of the day, this is just atrocious football. And it's crazy because, again, it's like the Jets dangle this carrot over you. Last week they scored 30 points in the second half. Zach Wilson wins AFC Player of the Week. You're thinking maybe this is the game where we turn the corner and we can finish the season strong on a positive note. But then we come out and we lay an absolute egg in this one. I mean, offensive line, an absolute turnstile. Mekhi Becton was awful. I don't think they bring him back. I wouldn't. Defense, DJ Reed, wow. I mean, he had a bad day, and those things are going to happen. You know, players are going to have a bad day at the office. At the end of the day, where is the coaching adjustments? If he's getting lit up by Waddle, why don't you try making a switch and maybe you put Sauce Gardner on Waddle? How about that? But no, the Jets are so persistent to just make to this is how we're going to run our defense, and we're not making any adjustments. That's bad coaching. That's bad coaching. Anytime you have a plan that you're not willing to alter, it's never a good plan. You got to have a plan B and plan C. And it's like this coaching staff, I don't know, maybe they gave up. I have no idea. I know this has been a nightmare of a season. It really has. And we're officially out of the playoff hunt. So all the fans that were saying, well, you know, we can win out and have all these other teams lose, and then Aaron Rodgers could come back Christmas Eve and help save our season and get us into the playoffs and whoever, and you never know what happens from there. Well, those dreams are over. Thank God, because I'm tired of hearing them anyway. Because realistically, this team was never going to make the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers would be an absolute idiot if he came back and played for this team, especially behind this coaching staff and this offensive line. Dude, don't do it to yourself. You're 40 years old. Get right. Get 100% healthy, and then you try to run it back next year. That is the best plan that you could possibly have. Because this team, like I said, they're a total embarrassment, man. It's stressful. It's stressful. At least I was happy I was able to do one positive video last week. But I kind of knew, in the back of my mind, I kind of knew this was coming. I picked the Jets to win because I figured maybe there's an opportunity, being that they saw Miami a few weeks ago, that they turned that corner with this second half. And maybe we could get things rolling. You know, I thought we were catching Miami at the right time. Tyreek Hill was banged up. I didn't know he wasn't going to play, but then he didn't play. So you figure we might have caught a break there. But no, of course not, because Mike McDaniels actually knows what he's doing. They didn't skip a beat. Everything that they usually draw for Tyreek Hill, they drew for Jalen Waddle, and he was spectacular. And we made absolutely no adjustments because that's what we do. It's like the coaching staff is stubborn, and that's just pure insane. It's stupidity. It really is. Get your head out of your behinds, man. It sucks. It sucks that the fans, the true fans, the fans that are emotionally invested in this team, that ride or die with this team, wear the green and white on Sundays. It's sad that we got to be subjected to this nonsense every single week. And it shouldn't have been that way. It really shouldn't have been that way, because this team does have talent. They do. But I question if we have the right coaching staff to be able to put it all together. That's a conversation for another day. Because I just don't think that we have that, regardless of who we have on the team next year. But they're not going to make any changes, man. They're going to run it back with this coaching staff. And everybody thinks that you just plug Aaron Rodgers into it and it's all going to be different. Well, ladies and gentlemen, wake up, because this team has a lot of flaws. They have a lot of flaws. They need to remake the entire offensive line. I don't even know. Like I said, it's ridiculous. It really is that I got to come out here and do one of these, rapid reactions. It's sad. It really is. The Jets are done. They're done. And like I said, I don't have faith at all that Joe Douglas is going to get this thing right in the offseason. If you look at it, let's be realistic, man. He's had one good draft. One good draft since 2020. One good draft. And that was the year where he drafted Sauce and Garrett and Jermaine and Brees and Ruckert. That was it. Because if you look at all his other picks, I mean, we can go down the list. In 2020, his first pick, Mekhi Becton. How's that working out? Guy can't stay on the field, and when he does, he's inconsistent. He's too heavy. He's too big. So you got to think he's not coming back next year. Denzel Mims, how'd that pick work out? Where is he playing now? Is he even in the league? I don't know. Ashton Davis, okay, well, he's been okay. Nothing to brag about. He's finally showed a little bit of life this year, but the first 2 years, where has he been? Jabari Zuniga, pass rusher, is he in the league? LaMichael P. Ryan, a running back. He's not even on the team anymore. He's on the Chiefs, I think. James Morgan, backup quarterback. Never saw a snap in the NFL. I don't even think he's playing in the XFL. He's not even in the league. Bryce Hall, backup corner. Braden Mann, a punter. Yeah, a punter who's no longer on this team as well. These are all his 2020 picks. How was that draft? How would you rate that draft? Because I'd rate it a D or an F. And then the next year, probably his biggest whiff of all, Zach Wilson at quarterback. He picked him with the second pick. He's not going to be on the team next year. AVT. Looked like a good pick, but the guy can't stay on the field. So again, the best ability is availability. Let's be honest. Michael Carter's not in the team. Jamie and Sherwood. Backup player. Has a bit of potential. Michael Carter II was probably his best pick of that draft, the nickel corner. And who knows if they're going to bring him back? Jason Pinnock, safety. Where is he? Giants. Namsa Naraliwadine. I don't even know the guy's name, a linebacker. I don't even know the guy's name. He picked him in the 6th round. He's not even in the NFL probably. Brandon Echols. Jonathan Marshall, defensive lineman. These are all guys that you probably don't even remember him even picking at the time because they haven't been relevant. They're not even NFL players. They're not even on a team. I don't know. Listen, man. It is what it is right now. Like I said, the Jets are 5-9. They're not making the playoffs with the Texans beating the Titans today. That officially eliminates the Jets from contention, and hopefully, like I said, we'll stop hearing all this Aaron Rodgers bullshit. And trust me when I tell you, man, just the mere fact that Aaron Rodgers is at this position to potentially come back has been an incredible story. So major props to him for trying to get back and trying to keep this team relevant, because I think a lot of what his thought process was, let's try to keep this team relevant, right? Keep this fan base as engaged as we could possibly can. I think a lot of that had to do with that. But guess what? It's done. It's over. Go into the offseason, get better, and have some serious conversations. I mean, there needs to be some serious conversations had between the player and this coaching staff and this front office on what they need to do to potentially get this shit right, because now you're looking at a 1-year window, a 40-year-old quarterback coming back from an Achilles injury with a lot of holes. You got to go for it next year because you got no backup plan in place. And you have no young quarterback to fall back on. So they're either going to have to try to draft one this year. Good luck trying to find one. You can't even find one in the 1st round. Let's see if you can find one in the 4th or 5th rounds. So you have no true backup plan next year, except maybe, again, bringing in a veteran quarterback who's not going to be the future of the franchise either. 1 year. You have 1 year to try to make a run at this thing. With all these holes that we have, especially our offensive line, it's going to be a very interesting offseason. I'll tell you that much. And like I said, there has to be some serious conversations that need to be had about how this team is being ran and how it's being coached. Because I don't see anything positive even coming next year, even with Aaron Rodgers coming back. I'm sorry, I have to call it the way it is. We keep it real here in the hangout spot. Anyhow, listen, I apologize I had to come out and get some stuff off my chest, but, it's not always like this. So if you're new to watching my videos, you can subscribe. It's safe to subscribe. We'll be talking some other stuff, as the weeks go along. 2024 is going to be a big year for us here at the Hangout Spot. Hopefully, you're here and you're on board so that you can hang out with me and go for the ride. But as always, as you're a Jet fan, keep your head up. That's all you can do. It's your boy Johnny signing out from the Hangout Spot, and I'll talk to everybody soon.